Alright, we are back, and in today's video we're going to be covering the 2023-24 NFL Pro Bowl rosters. And while it seems like every single person on this earth has a problem with the Pro Bowl roster this year, I actually don't think it's all that bad. However, of course, in this video we're going to be going over 7 names who I think should have made the Pro Bowl, and I'll tell you guys who I think they should have replaced on both the rosters. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So in case you live under a rock, let's go ahead and just show you guys the quick rosters for both the AFC and the NFC. The AFC quarterbacks are Tua, Lamar, Patrick. The AFC running backs are Raheem Mostert, James Cook, Derrick Henry. The fullback is Alec Ingold. The wide receivers are Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase. The tight ends are Kelsey and Njoku. The offensive linemen, mainly the tackles, are Laremy Tunsil, Dion Dawkins, and Teron Armstead. The guards are Quentin Nelson, Joel Bitonio, and Joe Thuney. And the centers are Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum. That is the full AFC offense. I have 2 big issues with the offensive side of things. And my biggest complaint is Derrick Henry being in the Pro Bowl. He just has not had a very spectacular year. On the year, Derrick Henry had 261 carries for 1,014 yards and 11 touchdowns. However, I do think there are a couple names that I potentially would have put over Derrick Henry, but the biggest of them all is Isaiah Pacheco, who only has 205 carries for 935 yards and 7 touchdowns. And while I understand that he has not hit the 1,000-yard rushing mark, he also has about 60 less carries than Derrick Henry, and despite having 60 less carries, he has 6 carries of 20+ yards, whereas Derrick Henry only has 4. And I get it, the name value of Derrick Henry is a lot higher than Isaiah Pacheco, but I just feel like Pacheco's had a much better season than Derrick Henry has this year. I'll also throw another running back name at you. I think Breece Hall should also be over Derrick Henry. I know Breece Hall's stats aren't ridiculous, but on the year, Breece Hall has 816 yards on only 186 carries with 4 touchdowns and 6 carries of 20+ yards. When you compare the stats, Derrick Henry has 261 carries to Breece Hall's 186. Just not even looking at the stats, if you actually watch them play, it is very obvious that Breece Hall and Isaiah Pacheco are way better running backs at this stage of their career than Derrick Henry. And that's no slight to Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry is a hell of a player, but I just think at this stage of his career, at times he's kind of been used as a goal line back and a short yardage back. Can Derrick still create a lot of plays? 100%, but I just think guys like Isaiah Pacheco and Breece Hall have a little bit higher of a case than a guy like Derrick Henry. Another guy I have a big problem with, and I think a lot of people have talked about it in Instagram comment sections and YouTube comment sections, but it is of course Patrick Mahomes, and I think Josh Allen should be the replacement for Patrick Mahomes. I'll even go as far as to say that I think CJ Stroud could also be a replacement for Patrick Mahomes as well. Mahomes on the year has 4,183 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions, and of course that's not including the rushing stats as well. When you compare that to Josh Allen, who has 3,947 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions, and by far the better rushing stats, I just really don't see the case for Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen. Sure, Josh Allen has a turnover problem, but so does Patrick Mahomes. And while I think if I was to rank the quarterbacks on a list, I'd still say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think Josh Allen's that far behind, and I think this year he's had an actual better year than Patrick Mahomes. And when you look at the value of him to that roster, if you take Patrick Mahomes off that Chiefs team, listen, that team isn't very good, but I still think it's a decent team. The same thing sort of applies to Josh Allen. If you take Josh Allen off that Buffalo Bills offense, I don't really think it's that good. And then if you look at a guy like CJ Stroud, who's had a very good year as well. And I think if Stroud was able to put together a fully healthy season, I definitely do think he'd be in the Pro Bowl this year. I just don't really see a case for Patrick Mahomes to be in the Pro Bowl this year. Has he been good? 100%. Has his teammates let him down? 1,000%. But I still think guys like Josh Allen and CJ Stroud have better cases over a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Now let's go ahead and move on to the AFC defense. And on the defense, we have Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and Trey Hendrickson for the defensive ends. The interior linemen are Chris Jones, Quinton Williams, and Justin Matabuke. Which, quick little side note, Justin Matabuke is a hell of a player. I am so happy that he's getting the respect this year. But the outside linebackers are TJ Watt, Khalil Mack, and Josh Allen. The interior inside/middle linebackers are Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. The cornerbacks are Patrick Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey, and Denzel Ward. The free safeties are Justin Simmons and Minkah Fitzpatrick, and the strong safety is Kyle Hamilton. And on this defense, I really only have one complaint, and that comes in the cornerback room. I don't think Sauce Gardner nor Jalen Ramsey should be in the Pro Bowl this year, but if you're going to give a nod to one of those two guys, I would definitely say Sauce Gardner, because Jalen Ramsey's only played 9 games this year. But if I had to find a replacement for Jalen Ramsey, I would definitely put in L'Jarius Sneed, the cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. On the year, Sneed has 60 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, and 14 pass deflections. And while I don't think Sneed's statistics really jump off the page, I think if you've actually watched this Chiefs offense, you would understand how important he has been to that team. He is their primary lockdown #1 corner on a defense that has been absolutely ridiculously good this year. And yet again, Jalen Ramsey has not played the full season. Had Ramsey played the full season and played like this the entire year, I would definitely say he is a Pro Bowl, All-Pro level player. But I just think personally, when we're talking about a Pro Bowl season, I want to see the guy play the entire year. And I think the main reason why Ramsey got in over L'Jarius Sneed is just the name value. Everyone knows who Jalen Ramsey is. Not a lot of people know who L'Jarius Sneed is. But I think when we're actually looking at putting in the best players in the Pro Bowl, I don't think that Jalen Ramsey has been one of the best players because, yet again, he hasn't been playing the entire year. But that's just my 2 cents. Let's go ahead and move now to the NFC roster. We're going to start off with the NFC offense. The quarterbacks are Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, and Matthew Stafford, and I 100% agree with those. The running backs are Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, and Kyron Williams. The fullback is Kyle Juszczyk. The wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, and Puka Nacua. The offensive tackles are Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, and Penei Sewell. The guards are Zach Martin, Chris Lindstrom, and Landon Dickerson. The centers are Jason Kelce and Frank Ragnow. And let me just get this out of the way. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of these things, but I just couldn't really find any replacements for a couple of these names. For example, I really don't think that DeAndre Swift should be in the Pro Bowl this year. I think he's been a below average running back when you actually look at the film. But unfortunately, most people who vote on this stuff actually don't even watch the film. They just throw in the best names out there. I could look at a guy like David Montgomery, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs and say that those guys have been better than him, but you're not going to see fans vote for them. So I just don't really think there's somebody out there who statistically and performance-wise has the case over a guy like DeAndre Swift. And backtracking here, talk about the quarterbacks real quick. Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, I think it's great. I think some people might want to see Jalen Hurts in there, but I don't think he's been a top 3 quarterback in the NFC this year. So I do think they got the quarterback situation correct. My next big complaint is in the receiving room. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, and Puka Nacua I 100% agree with. And while I don't necessarily disagree with Mike Evans, I do think there is somebody who should be in over Mike Evans, and I think that should be Amon-Ra St. Brown. On the year, Mike Evans has 76 catches for 1,233 yards and 13 touchdowns, whereas Amon-Ra St. Brown has 112 catches for 1,371 yards and 9 touchdowns. And I know this might sound a little bit nitpicky, but I just think that Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a little bit more impactful for that offense than Mike Evans has been. I know I'm picking at straws here, and both guys are extremely important for their offenses. And while statistically speaking, yes, Mike Evans' down the field range and his abilities down the field to catch contested catches are way more impressive than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think if you look at the role that Amon-Ra St. Brown serves for this Lions offense, I definitely do think that he should be in this game. But I can definitely understand them putting in Mike Evans because it is a Pro Bowl game, not a slot possession receiver type of game. The Pro Bowl fans want to see high-flying offenses, contested catches, one-on-ones, not necessarily somebody who's going to do a lot of the dirty work like Amon-Ra St. Brown does. I just personally feel like if you're going to put the 4 best receivers from this year in the NFC, I definitely do think Amon-Ra St. Brown should be in the conversation for it. With all that said, though, I am extremely happy for Mike Evans. I think he's had an incredible year and honestly one of his best seasons in quite some time. My next big complaint, and this is going to be a little bit nitpicky and some people are going to disagree with this, but I think that Zach Martin should not be in the Pro Bowl. I think he should be replaced by his teammate Tyler Smith. I think I stand here with all the Cowboys fans and say that Zach Martin hasn't had his best year this year. Now, it's obviously super hard to find offensive lineman stats without having to pay for it, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not paying for those stats. But if you ask any Cowboys fans, and me personally, because I've actually watched Cowboys film, I think Zach Martin has been good. I just don't think he's been as good as Tyler Smith. Is Zach Martin Pro Bowl level? I'm not going to disagree with you. In fact, I would say that Zach Martin could definitely be a Pro Bowl starter. But I think if you're going to put Zach Martin in, I think you have to put his teammate Tyler Smith in. Tyler has been better this year. He has locked down that left guard side and has not really given up any pressure on Dak Prescott this year. Whereas Zach Martin at times has gotten obliterated by certain defensive tackles. Again, it could be nitpicky sort of plays where maybe it's not necessarily his fault, but again, I don't think Tyler Smith has done that, whereas I think Zach Martin has. So again, you are more than free to disagree with me on this one, but I do think Tyler Smith should be in. But lastly, let's go ahead and move on to the NFC defense, and I actually do have a couple issues with the defense here. The 3 defensive ends are Nick Bosa, Montez Sweat, and Aiden Hutchinson. Shout out to Montez Sweat. He absolutely changed that Chicago Bears defense. I was completely wrong about that trade. The Bears did a good job with that one. The interior linemen are Aaron Donald, Dexter Lawrence, and Javon Hargrave. The outside linebackers are Micah Parsons, Daniil Hunter, and Hassan Reddick. The inside/middle linebackers are Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner. The cornerbacks are Deron Bland, Travarius Ward, Jalen Johnson, and Devon Witherspoon. The free safety is Jesse Bates, and the 2 strong safeties are Budda Baker/Julian Love. My first real complaint is in the Budda Baker/Julian Love strong safety position. How the hell is Antoine Winfield not in the Pro Bowl? Listen, I love Budda Baker and Julian Love. I think they are great players, but Antoine Winfield has been incredible this year, and I think you could take either one of those guys out to put Antoine Winfield in. I get it, Budda Baker has a bigger name than Antoine Winfield, but Julian Love? What the hell? In my opinion, I think there is a strong case that Winfield has been the best safety in the entire NFL this year. I still would take Jesse Bates over him, but I think Antoine Winfield has been right up there with him. And I do think it's a little bit ludicrous that he's not in this Pro Bowl at all. The next big complaint I have is in the inside linebacking room. Obviously, Fred Warner completely deserves it, but I don't think Bobby Wagner deserves it at all. Listen, Bobby's great in run support, but when it comes to coverage, he is a complete statue out there. Whereas I feel like Bobby Okereke, the linebacker for the New York Giants, has been absolutely phenomenal. He's solid in coverage and absolutely great at just being a tackling machine. On the year, Bobby Okereke has 87 solo tackles, 1.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. Whereas Bobby Wagner has 92 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and 0 interceptions. So again, I raise the question, what's the case for Bobby Wagner over Bobby Okereke? And to that, I rest my case. The last complaint I'm going to have with this list is going to be Javon Hargrave. I don't think he should be in the Pro Bowl conversation. He's had a good year, but just not as good of a year as some other guys. The number one name that comes to mind is Derrick Brown. I know Derrick Brown is not necessarily a household name because he does a lot of the dirty work for the Carolina Panthers, but he definitely should be in this game over a guy like Javon Hargrave. But you guys tell me, who do you guys think is the biggest snub from the NFL Pro Bowl games? And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I love you guys. Peace.